Welcome to the Disney Wedding Podcast. This show is brought to you by Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, the only guidebook and bridal organizer tailored exclusively to Disney's fairy tale weddings at Walt Disney World. I'm Carrie Hayward, and each week I feature Disney wedding updates, money-saving tips, and interviews with wedding vendors and real Disney couples. I also cover honeymoons, anniversaries, and engagements at the Disney parks and resorts. Join me now as the Disney Wedding Podcast celebrates romance at Disney destinations. Today on the Disney Wedding Podcast, I am speaking with Disney bride Molly Haining about her ceremony at the Wedding Pavilion with a reception at American Adventure Rotunda in EPCOT. I thought you guys would be interested to hear how she chose these locations and how she planned everything and how it all turned out. So welcome, Molly.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being on the show today. I always like to start at the very beginning and find out how you and your fiancé decided that you wanted to have your wedding at Disney.
We honestly did not consider anything else. It was not even a question if we were getting married at Disney. We live in Florida. We moved here from Canada a few years ago. We have annual passes and we go at least once a week. We are just diehard Disney fans. So once we got engaged, the next day I said, okay, time to call Disney.
How did your friends and family react when they found out where the wedding was going to be?
I think anyone who knows us really well is not surprised because everyone knows we're Disney people. But the people who didn't even know Disney weddings existed were really shocked. They're like, you can have a wedding in Disney? People were really excited that they got to go to it.
That's great. How many guests did you invite and how many were able to be there?
So we actually did it in tiers because we knew we wanted exactly 50 people total there. Just that's how many we were budgeting for and planning on having. We really wanted it to be small and intimate. So what we did was we sent out a big round of invitations. Our family's all still in Canada. Some are overseas in Europe. So once we got a bunch of, sorry, I can't take it off work or I can't travel at that time. Once we got a big round of no's, we sent out a second round of invites and we kept just kind of wiggling with the number until we had exactly 50. So total, I think we probably invited about 100.
Interesting. That's a really great point because, sticking to a smaller guest list is the number one way to cut down the cost of your Disney wedding. And I know for a lot of people, they feel obligated to invite everybody. So that's an interesting way to do it.
It was just kind of doing it in tiers. And I don't think people necessarily realized we did it that way or else they understood that we were trying to keep it small. So no one was offended by it.
So then did you guys set up a room block for your guests?
We did, yes. We chose the Skyliner resorts. We did Pop Century, Caribbean Beach, and Art of Animation. We chose those three because we thought it would give a nice variety of each thing you could like about Disney. The Caribbean gives the Florida tropical vibe, and then the Art of Animation's more Disney, and then the Pop Century is, of course, the most affordable one. So we thought giving those three is just a good selection for people who have maybe never been to Disney before.
Got it. Now, how did you choose the day of the week and time of day for your event?
So we knew that we wanted to do on a weekday, but we wanted it to be on the 30th specifically because that is our anniversary of being engaged and dating. We're both on 30ths of months. So when we were looking for the month of April, we saw that the 30th was on a Tuesday and it just happened to work out that we didn't want to do a weekend because it costs more. We decided to do the ceremony at 2:30 because we wanted the natural lighting in the photos. I think the pavilion really shines when it's daytime and it's sunny and you get the beautiful stained glass windows. So we wanted the natural lighting in the photos. But then for the reception, we did want to have the fireworks show. So we just had a little gap in between our ceremony and cocktail hour, gave everyone some time to freshen up and relax for a bit. And then we came back a few hours later for a later start to the party.
Okay, great. Now, how did you choose your ceremony and reception venues?
So for ceremony, we were dead set on doing Magic Kingdom after hours. We were not budging on it. We wanted it so badly, but we really wanted to use an outside photographer, Phantasmic Photography. And Disney does have a rule that you have to use their own photographer. So then we eventually decided to move it over to the Wedding Pavilion just because Steve himself is a photographer. We're very particular on photos. So that was kind of our main priority. So we did go with the pavilion. And I'm happy we did. I wasn't completely sold on it when I just saw photos of it, but the photos don't do it justice. It's so much more beautiful in person. So if you're kind of having second thoughts, do go visit in person and then you'll see what I mean. It's even more gorgeous in person. And then How I chose the reception venue was actually that one took a long time to figure out because we knew we wanted it in a park. So we were kind of thinking like, what about Tower of Terror? But we wanted a fireworks show. So it just ended up working out that we did the Rotunda. They do have usually like an 80 guest minimum. So they did allow us to do a smaller guest count. It just meant that we had to still hit the higher food minimum. So we just kept adding and adding more food until we had like such an extravagant display of so many different food options. But it was worth it because we wanted to have the fireworks show in Epcot as well as keep the reception in the park.
That's fantastic. And did they give you Italy a Sola for the fireworks?
We actually did the Terrace de Fleurs.
Oh, interesting. Okay, got it.
We chose that one because it had built-in decor.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah.
The little flowers there were kind of just like free floral.
Now, you mentioned that using an outside photographer was important. Did you use any other outside vendors for the portions of your event that you were able to?
So we used Stacy Otto for hair and makeup. I did do my own makeup, but she did my hair and her team did my bridesmaids and the mother of the bride, and they did a fantastic job. And then we also used an outside vendor for the photography and the videography. So Phantasmic Photography also did our wedding video, which was nice to just have one company in charge of both photo and video. And then that was it. Everything else was through Disney.
How did you choose your officiant?
So we saw Valerie on Facebook in the Disney Weddings Facebook group, and just right off the bat, I thought she looks like such a sweet lady. I wanted to reach out to her and ask her if we could have a meeting with her. And just like within 5 seconds of talking to her, she has a really nice English accent, and she was just so kind. And I was like, this is obviously the choice. Like, I didn't need to talk to anyone else. I said to her right on the spot, I was like, okay, you're hired. And she's like, you don't want to like get back to me? I'm like, nope, I like you. I choose you. And she was perfect. She did like the little pixie dusting thing where she sprinkled some glitter on the rings, and she made our ceremony very Disney at our request.
Now, did you add any kind of entertainment like a musician to the ceremony or for the reception?
We did not. We had the music just played from a phone for the ceremony because we wanted the like official movie versions with the exact vocals and everything in it. And then for the reception, we didn't have entertainment besides the DJ. We decided just to stick to the music, and that was good enough.
Which DJ did you use?
We had Steve Dunlap.
Now, do you have any menu items or cake flavors from your day that you would recommend?
Honestly, the star of our entire wedding was the cheeseburger spring rolls. They are my park favorite, so it was really exciting to like telling all my guests, go try them, you've got to try them. And they were even better at the wedding than they are at the park. I think that's the menu item that the most guests raved about after, as well as for the dinner, we had the filet mignon from Le Cellier as one of our entree options, and everybody raved about it. Everyone said that was the best food they've ever had at a wedding. And as far as cake flavors go, we decided to just go simple and do something that everyone would like. So we just did the marble cake with the churro filling, and everybody said it was awesome. Everybody really liked it. And then for the top tier, just for Steve and I, we did the key lime one. It was really good. We ate the entire top tier of the cake at the Grand Floridian the day after the wedding.
That's what I recommend people do.
There's no point letting it get freezer burn. I can go back on my anniversary and order another cake.
Exactly. Did you guys add any other events around the day, like a dessert party or welcome party?
We decided not to. That was one area where I thought we could save ourselves a couple $1,000s. We do live in Florida, very close to Disney. So we had a little welcome party off property just with immediate family and the bridal party. And honestly, I don't regret not doing that because that itself did save a lot of money.
Oh, that's interesting. Where did you go?
So we literally just had everyone over at our house and we ordered catering from a restaurant.
That's wonderful.
Very DIY.
And since you're local, for your Magic Kingdom Park portrait session, did you do it around the wedding day, or did you go back a few months later, or how did you schedule that?
We did it the same week as the wedding. So we stayed at the Grand Floridian for a couple days after the wedding, and then we hopped over to Animal Kingdom Lodge. So we just kind of had like a little mini Disney honeymoon while we were there. And then so the photo shoot was the Saturday after the wedding which was on a Tuesday. So like just a few days later, they kind of came and picked us up from the Animal Kingdom Lodge to do it.
That's great. Did you refresh your bouquet or bring a faux bouquet?
Oh, so I actually did. Sorry, I didn't mention this when I said outside vendors. So my personal floral was actually fake flowers from Etsy because I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars on something that dies. So I had got the fake ones so I could keep them afterwards. So having fake flowers really helped with that as well.
Wonderful. Can you give my listeners a timeline of how the wedding day ran?
So I was up at like 4 a.m. doing hair and makeup. And we had all of the bridesmaids and everyone else show up for makeup. I think it was like 7:30 or 8. And then we all got ready at the Grand Floridian. It's really convenient to stay at the Grand Floridian if you're getting married at the Wedding Pavilion because it's such a short walk over to the pavilion from there. So I'm really glad that we did do that. And then the ceremony was at 2:30. So I did the Cinderella horse carriage, which was absolutely incredible. It came and picked me up, and I honestly got a longer ride on it than I expected. I kind of expected to just dart right over to the pavilion, but they kind of did like a nice little loop around the resort for a bit for me. So that was a pleasant surprise. And then I sat in the bridal suite for like 2 minutes, and then I heard the ceremony was starting, so it was perfectly on time. Then after our ceremony, we had from like 3:30, so we did our photos, and then we had a break from like 3:30 until 8 o'clock. Then it was time to go over to Epcot in the buses, and we took a charter van over because my dress would not fit in a bus. So we took the van over, went to Epcot, we watched the fireworks, had our cocktail hour, and then the reception immediately followed and ended at 1 a.m.
I know a lot of people are worried about having a late night reception at Disney because they fear that their guests will get bored or they'll leave early or be too tired. How did that work for you?
Honestly, I think having the break in between the ceremony and the reception was a great idea because a lot of people went back to their resorts and like just took a nap, or else, some people just kind of like hung around the resorts and had a little like downtime to not, have their social battery on. I think giving everyone a little break in the day definitely did help with that. But also the adrenaline and the excitement seems to keep people going because there was a few people that we thought would definitely leave early, like, like my 80-year-old grandma and like our 11-year-old niece. Like some people you think are going to leave early made it like all the way till the end. They're so excited to be there and everyone's having fun that it really does go by quickly. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, it's 2 a.m. Where did today go? So it wasn't an issue.
That's great to hear. So when you were planning, what were some of the most important aspects of the event where you focused your attention or your budget?
Honestly, the biggest things for us were like the experience of it being like a true Disney wedding. So like the Cinderella carriage was an absolute must and honestly was such a highlight. It was worth every single penny. The park photo shoot, the fireworks show, we really just wanted it to be like, let's show our friends and family why we love the Disney park so much because, some people don't get it until they experience it themselves. So showing them the incredible fireworks show and everything was like really our biggest priority. The thing that I really like didn't focus our budget on was things like floral and decorations because at the end of the day, no one's really going to remember that part. They're going to remember the experience. So we definitely focused the budget on like the takeaway memories of it.
Got it. Okay. What ended up being your favorite memory of the wedding day?
Honestly, the Cinderella carriage, I think. I was sitting in it by myself, taking the ride over to the pavilion. I was just crying happy tears because I saw the Cinderella carriage at the Grand Floridian when I was 8 years old. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like there's a princess. Like, how do you get married in Disney World? And then now it was like a full circle moment. I was like, okay, here I am all these years later and I get to do it. It was just kind of like a childhood dream come true. And it was so cute seeing how many little girls were walking by, like gasping and waving at me. Like it was really a full circle moment.
Now, did anything go wrong or just not turn out like you expected?
I wouldn't say anything went wrong. Like we got really lucky with weather and everything was on time. Like there wasn't really anything bad. The only thing that wasn't quite what I expected was I think the layout in the rotunda for the reception, like the tables were kind of pushed off to the side, sort of in the dark where you couldn't really see your guests. Like they kind of felt like they were sitting on the outside of the room, like not really, I don't know, they didn't really feel as intimate and close as I thought like the small group of people was going to feel. And then when they brought all the desserts out, because we had to meet the huge food minimum, we had to add so many desserts to it. They kind of just like set up the desserts in the dark corner. And I think most of our guests didn't know they were there. So most people didn't get to have any. So I kind of didn't realize with that venue how when you're not in the center dance floor, the outsides are actually very dark in there.
Interesting. Okay.
A lot of people said that they were like, oh, we were just sitting in a dark corner. I didn't know there was food over there.
Oh, that's too bad.
That was the only thing, though.
Now, was there anything that seemed like a big deal beforehand or you were worried about, and then it turned out not to be a big deal?
I was really stressing about the decor. I was trying to keep it to a minimum because the venues we chose were so beautiful already. They don't need a lot. Like I did do the really tall gold candelabra style chandelier things holding the giant things of flowers down the aisle. And then looking back, I'm like, when I was walking down the aisle, I couldn't even see my guests because the flowers were in the way and they kind of blocked them in the photos as well. And also that venue doesn't need it. So looking back, I probably didn't need to do huge, crazy decor at the ceremony. And then also for the reception, like I was being so uptight about, we need upgraded linens, we need upgraded like napkins and the tablecloths, and the tables did look gorgeous, but we had like the upgrade tables with like ribbons on them and stuff. And Steve kept laughing at me. He's like, why are you so obsessed with the bows on the chairs? They look ugly anyways. And then I looked back at the pictures. I'm like, they were kind of ugly. Why was I so like adamant? I was like, everything needs to be princessy, girly, vintage, pink. And then I looked at the pictures after and I was like, okay, I could have just skipped all of that.
Is there anything else you would have done differently knowing what you know now?
Maybe I would have invited more than 50 guests. I did like the small, intimate feeling of it. But when I saw how much food we actually had ordered, I was kind of kicking myself a little bit like, oh, we should have maybe invited 80 guests because this is like 80 people worth of food. I feel like, I don't know, like none of us had enough appetite to eat it all. I felt a little bad about that.
That's interesting. What sorts of things did you add when you knew you had to make up the budget?
So we did the open bar, which is so funny because in the very first place, I said, you do not need to be drunk to have fun in Disney World. I kind of want a dry wedding. I'm like, I don't want anyone not remembering the special night. I kind of don't want a bar. And then once we weren't hitting the food minimum, I was like, okay, let's do a bar. And then like by the end of it, we had like the open deluxe package because we were still trying to hit the minimum. Then we added champagne bottles for all the tables with the toasts. And then we had 3 entrees instead of 2, and we added additional sides as well. And then for desserts and snacks, we did the pretzels, the Mickey ice cream bars, and the Mickey parfaits, as well as the cake. So we just had way too many food options. No one ate as much food as I expected them to.
Huh, okay. Do you have any other tips or advice for future Disney couples?
Honestly, I feel like the process in the very beginning felt very stressful because it's so much information. And obviously, if you've never planned a wedding before, you don't know what you're doing, and people give you contradicting advice and opinions and everything. So I feel like the first few months of planning the wedding were extremely stressful. And then once we got closer to, honestly, everything had fallen into place so perfectly. Everyone we worked with at Disney was super organized and everything just worked out perfectly. So I think if you're feeling like super overwhelmed and stressed, rest assured, by the time the wedding day comes, I was so calm and ready for it. I was not stressed the night before or the morning of. Everything ran perfectly because the last couple months before the wedding, like you have nothing to worry about. So just get through the first few months and you're good.
That's great to hear. Well, Molly, I think you've offered a lot of great tips and advice for anyone who's interested in getting married or having a vow renewal at Walt Disney World, and I appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you so much.
That's our show for today. I'm your host, Carrie Hayward, inviting you to join me again next week for another episode of the Disney Wedding Podcast. Past shows and tons of photos for each episode are available on my website, DisneyWeddingPodcast.com, or listen in your favorite podcast app. And for instant answers to all your Walt Disney World wedding questions, check out Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, available as an interactive ebook with continual free updates at fairytaleweddingsguide.com.